Welcome to the GCNTech show.
This week, we're talking about crank stiffness. Is stiffer better? And which cranks are the stiffest?
And in Hot Tech this week, we have news on the XDS-Astana bikes, a new super limited edition steel bike. We've got news on a SRAM patent. We've got bearings that eat grits for breakfast, and a converter to allow you to run Shimano chainrings on a SRAM crank.
I can't wait for another exciting instalment of Paton's Patent Patrol.
Bow, bow, bow.
Oh.
So this week we're discussing how stiff are your cranks and which cranks are the stiffest. Well, we're going to tell you because thanks to the guys at Farewell Bikes in Tucson, Arizona, well, they've been conducting independent tests to try and get some answers for this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and the guys at Farewell don't just build incredible lightweight bikes, they also perform regular sort of bench testing and testing of different components, which is mega because they share the results of that testing as well. And the crank stiffness testing in this instance has been performed by Jason Krantz, who is an experienced mechanical engineer, but also has a strong background in finite element analysis and also composite materials as well. So proper cool.
The thing I'm wondering is, how are they testing crank stiffness and does it actually matter?
The thing I'm currently wondering is, well, the second best thing to come out of Tucson is probably this, because the first thing is tortillas and burritos. Blimey, if you ever get there.
I mean, that's two things.
My mind just, anyway, right. So on to what you want to know about.
Yeah, so the process of how they're doing this, I think is really cool. They've got a section on their website documenting this, but what they've got is this kind of like test rig, which basically secures the crank in place, and then a set load is put onto the crank using a dummy pedal axle, and then they're loading 50 pounds of weight onto the pedal axle, zeroing everything off, and then the measurement they're taking is when they then add an additional 150 pounds of weight on, and measuring the deflection.
And in simple terms, they're measuring the deflection, the amount that the crank deflects under load. So we're going to explain sort of what this sort of means and how it relates to everyday riders, okay? So, well, first thing, little detail, the right-hand crank is usually stiffer than the left-hand crank, which is quite interesting. They're not symmetrical. But a rider applying a force of 250 foot-pounds over 160 degrees of crank rotation produces an average power of 880 watts, which a few of us can sustain indefinitely.
Probably not us.
Yeah. And 14 watts of that 880 watts is 1.6%. So that equates to the sort of typical losses that you would get from typical deflection.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. There's some of the deflection readings are equating to, at that power, that amount of wattage is kind of what is, I don't want to say consumed, but loosely use the word consumed by the crank.
Yes.
Yeah.
So put into more realistic numbers, if you were producing a steady 300 watts, then your crank would be absorbing 4.8 watts of your effort. But where it gets slightly complicated is it's not simply that's absorbed and lost, because the cranks are effectively acting like a spring and absorbing energy and then deflecting back. That energy is getting released. It's not entirely 100% efficient the way that works, but energy is deflected in, deflected out.
It's kind of like the same principle as what I discussed the other week when I was talking to the Canyon engineer about the flex in a frame. Yes, it does flex, and some of that energy you get back when it goes back to its original setting, but you don't get everything back, do you?
Yeah, and there's other things we don't know, such as how that differs from a composite or a carbon crank to an alloy one. So typically, alloys are better at springing back, whereas composites, in the same way that composites are good at absorbing vibration dampening, that's because they're good at absorbing energy and dissipating it. So there is potential, but we don't know this for sure, that an alloy crank might be more efficient because it would spring back better and release that energy that's gone into it better.
Rather than a carbon one potentially sort of absorbing it a little bit more.
But the only way we could truly know if stiffer is better and if an alloy crank is more efficient than a carbon one would be to do some kind of testing similar to what we did when we went to the Silverstone tunnel on their efficiency rig.
Oh, yeah.
So where you're measuring that energy in and measuring accurately what is your energy out of the total system. And that way you could maybe get an idea of, are stiffer cranks better, but also are stiffer bikes better? Because again, this is something that we don't fully know yet, despite what people might say.
You see, I think it is an interesting subject. And like you say, I find it fascinating because like nobody actually knows the answer. My head wants to tell me that why would you want a crank to be less stiff? But until you know if it's actually having a big impact on your riding, why does it matter? It's not like we all need to go out and spend every bit of money we have on the world's stiffest cranks, because if it doesn't equate to anything useful, perhaps not the biggest deal in the world, is it?
Yeah, but the results of the testing are pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So we will show the results on screen and we'll also put a link in the description to Fairwheel's page where you can go and look at them yourself. But the general trends are that alloy cranks are generally stiffer than carbon cranks, albeit they're a little bit heavier. SRAM is a great example of this. Carbon cranks, they're lighter than Shimano cranks, both duraace, and so they have here is the SRAM Dub. The latest SRAM Red, they've just tested it, but they've not published the results yet. But the previous SRAM Access Dub. So yeah, lighter than Shimano, but in terms of stiffness to weight, they actually come out comparable, and Shimano's a little bit better, and Shimano is quite a bit stiffer if it's you're just measuring stiffness.
So it's always going to be that constant trade-off, isn't it? We can have something that's lighter or something that's stiffer and then find something where they meet in the middle.
Yeah. The rotor cranks, they come out really well, both in terms of weight and stiffness in this testing, but their alloy version is stiffer as well. So again, that. THM are they're clavicular cranks that you see on crazy lightweight weight weenie builds.
Yeah.
They're beautiful. They come out the best overall in terms of stiffness to weight. But that's largely down to how incredibly light they are. So in terms of stiffness, they're actually mid-pack and nowhere near the stiffest cranks available. And also, this little nugget caught my attention.
This is amazing. I can't wait for you to say this.
Ultegra is stiffer than duraace.
Blew my mind.
I would have expected duraace to be lighter and stiffer. But
I'm going to throw it out there that perhaps the reason an ultegra one is stiffer than duraace is because there's a bit more material to it, and the duraace one's a bit lighter.
Trimmed down.
Yeah,
quite possibly.
I'm guessing. I don't know.
But Fairwheel, in their findings and their conclusions, make an excellent point that there isn't an overall winner within this testing and these results, and that's because we all have different needs and demands from our equipment, right? So, for example, if you're a 60 kilogram climber who climbs seated and doesn't really sprint, you're not really bothered about total stiffness. You're more bothered about something that's stiff enough and is very lightweight. Whereas if you are a 100 kilogram track sprinter, your total system weight is not really of concern to you, but probably absolute stiffness is. So what you can do with these results is basically apply your riding to it and then make a more informed choice, which I think is great.
I think this is interesting, but I have a minor concern that we've now made cycling even more complicated for everyone, because people weren't expecting that they had to think about their crank stiffness or crank stiffness to weight ratio, but now we're saying that people should.
Well, no, you don't necessarily have to. I mean, what is going to make a bigger impact to your overall performance is crank length, which is a whole nother topic for a whole nother tech show, as there have been some interesting studies reported on that recently. But, these components, you're spending money on them, you can make a more informed choice. And if you'd want to see us discuss some of the other results from some of the more later testing that hasn't been published yet, then, let us know in the comments below.
I'm actually going to pose a quick question to you. Would you choose a crank that is the lightest, the stiffest, or the one that strikes the best stiffness to weight ratio? Which would you go for?
I think for me, because I'm not especially powerful, weight is more of a priority, where I can get more of a gain, I believe. But I don't know yet. We'd need to do more efficiency testing and find out.
Oh, that was such a nerd answer. I'm going to go the stiffness to weight ratio, a bit of a balance. There you go.
I'd want the most aero crank, actually.
I didn't give that as an option. They didn't do aero testing. Let us know in the comments section down below your thoughts on crank stiffness.
It's time now for Hot Tech, and as promised, we're going to begin with another exciting edition of Paton's Patent Patrol.
I don't have the glasses, so we're going to have to envisage the glasses. Right, okay, SRAM have filed a patent for, drumroll please, an indoor trainer.
Wow, cool, let's have a look then.
It is cool. Right, we've got some images that we can hopefully have up on screen, but there's been a few articles about on this at the moment, and it would appear that it's trying to solve the problem of being able to leave your wheel into your bike, but not being powered by the tyre. And then it's just going to try to make things a little bit simple. You don't have to take the wheel out, and you haven't got to deal with the pitfalls of a wheel-on trainer where the tyre is driving the unit. And from the images that I've seen, and some of the tech jargon that's in the patent, it seems that the chain is lifted off of the cassette and then runs around a separate pulley which drives on a belt and then turns the resistance unit. Which
interesting.
Looks complicated, but I think when you sort of see the images, you can understand how the chain is just lifted up off the cassette.
It's actually quite simple. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it is actually just quite simple, yeah.
It's an interesting design, but I can't help but think it's solving a problem that doesn't necessarily exist, right? Because if you're taking your bike and you're putting your bike in this trainer, you have to take your through axle out. At which point, as soon as you've taken your through axle out to put it in and put in the through axle back in, you might as well have just you're going to have to use their through axle anyway, because it'll be a longer one based on how the design works.
Yeah.
So the point at which you've taken your through axle out to put theirs in,
your wheel's going to fall out anyway.
You might as well have just taken your wheel out anyway.
I don't know. I didn't design it, but I can see your point. I do think perhaps for...
But not only that, if the chain, in their diagram, they show the wheel being in there, right?
Yeah.
But as soon as you're using that chain is not touching the cassette, again, the wheel doesn't even need to be in there.
I think perhaps the idea is that it's helping to mean for people that aren't confident in taking their rear wheel out, you haven't got to. I think. I don't know.
Yes, but the wheel will probably fall out as soon as you take the cassette out, as soon as you take the through axle out.
I mean, you're raising some valid points here.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume that the people who have worked on this have thought that might happen.
Yeah, it's a novel idea.
Yeah.
I grant it that, but...
The pictures make it look like quite a sort of clunky industrial unit, but I guess it could be packaged down as something neater,
you can make it look really nice.
Yeah.
But it is going to have a longer footprint than a normal wheel-on trainer as well.
Yeah.
People have space in their apartments. And if we're playing Dragon's Den...
which seems like we are.
Or we do it all the time at parties, then at this point I'm going to say I'm out.
Yeah.
If you're all asking me for investment on this, sorry, Alex.
Which I'm not.
I'm out.
Oh, you're out. Okay. Well, also, there's the third option out there, which it might be like lots of patents and it might never see the light of day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Moving swiftly on. Now we've cleared that up. X-Lab. That's what we need to talk about. XDS, Astana, new team. They're the new team's bike sponsor and partner, co-owner of the team, actually. X-Lab is XDS's premium brand in-house. Okay.
Yeah.
So they're the bikes that the team are going to be using, which I think is pretty cool. We've got a video all about it, actually, don't we?
Yeah, well, Connor managed to get his grubby little hands all over the bike. He was wandering around Calpe and then came across one, and they let him film it.
Amazing.
Yeah, which is great. And I tell you what, the paint jobs on those Astana team bikes, they look blooming great.
Yeah, they do.
And very original as well, like the sort of graphics that they've got around the rear portion of the bike. I've not seen a sort of team bike with that sort of style on before, so I like that there's a bit of fresh graphics going on there.
I'm all for it. I've actually got a little segment I've taken out from a recent press release all about it. They say X-Lab is known for its precision engineering and cutting-edge technology, offering products that blend performance with innovation. And then just explains XDS is a premier Chinese brand specialising in design, manufacture and development of high-performance bicycles, founded in 1995. There you go.
Yeah, it's... the bike looks legit.
It does look legit.
It does look legit, yeah.
I'm excited for the race season to get started because I think I'm going to be intrigued to see how the peloton receive this bike.
Yeah.
And it's going to be. I hope they win on it early seasons.
But the air, that is the aero one. The lighter weight climbing one that Connor also filmed looks very like. I mean, it looks nice, but from a racing perspective, it looks really like antiquated in terms of its very round tubes. Like that's not going to be a very aerodynamic bicycle.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's light. I'm sure it's stiff. It's probably great to ride, but in terms of the aerodynamics, it really is lacking.
Yeah.
But they did say that bike is not primarily going to be what the team use. They are going to be primarily using the aero one.
I think we can all agree everyone's got an understanding of aerodynamics fairly well now in the peloton. No one's going all out crazy bikes on it. So yeah. Right, next up in hot tech is this adapter that I was excited about, but you perhaps didn't share the same level of excitement.
Okay.
So I saw this on Instagram actually, and it's from a company called 5Dev, who are like machining experts, and it allows you to run Shimano chainrings on cranks that use that SRAM 8-bolt direct mount fitment, which I think is kind of cool because you can mix and match different cranks, and then you can use the chainrings that you might not have been able to previously combine together.
Yeah, well, it's good if you want to use like the SRAM power meter, which is really good.
Exactly. Actually, I've seen a lot of the 5Dev products. They're super cool. I would love to be able to go visit that place and shoot a cool video.
Yeah. And certain bottom brackets on certain bikes are better suited to a 30mm spindle or a dub spindle than they are for a 24 Shimano spindle. So that's another reason why some people might want to run that.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Next up in hot tech, this is a brand new bike from, I never know how to say this name.
I think it's Officina
Battaglin.
Officina Battaglin.
We kind of got it together.
I think it's that. I mean, we should really ask Alan.
Yeah,
he's coming tomorrow.
Oh, we'll ask him tomorrow.
Yeah.
If we've got it really wrong, we'll get him to add into the tech show for us. Right, so they've just launched the 1984, which is a limited edition steel bike to celebrate the 40th anniversary of Giovanni Battaglini's retirement from professional cycling. Get this, 12 frames.
Pretty exclusive, isn't it?
Like, 12 frames, come on.
Are they all 56? Or it's like...
Well, I was actually reading into some of the press release. Apparently, they are made to order.
All right.
So you've got scope to make more than 12 if you really wanted to. So the 7 standard size-ins, and they say for an additional charge, the frame will be tailored to the owner's exact body measurements with a geometry personalised and developed by Giovanni Battaglin himself. Prices start at €3,800 for a standard size frame.
That's not the 12 one. The 12 one's more, right?
No, I think that's right. That's what we've got here for the standard frame set.
Really?
Rim brake only, carbon fork, like all slick integrated, and look at the
wowzers.
Rim brake only. Actually, people are going to love that.
Oh, gee willikers, Batman.
This is cool, is it not?
Wowzers.
Those polished lugs are unbelievable.
That's pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like.
When you said there was only 12, I was expecting it to be like $40,000 each.
No,
that's
it's actually pretty cool. Right, next up in hot tech, bearings. Are you going to share the excitement for this?
What, Enduro's XD15s?
Yeah. Do you want to know about them?
Yes.
So I said that they eat grits for breakfast. So
was that an exaggeration?
No, I've got the information right here.
So they're sentient and they require nourishment?
Yes. No. Right, so I was actually speaking to a bearings expert the other day. It was Matt from Enduro Bearings, and he mentioned that they have this bearing. And I thought, you know what, it's actually super cool. Yeah. It's the XD15, and it uses this grade of steel, which is nitrogen infused. And he says it's so tough that if grit gets into the bearing, the ceramic balls inside will crush it into a fine powder and polish the bearing smooth. Which I was like,
that sounds absolutely amazing.
Is this actually a thing? But he swears by it. And I thought this is cool, so I'd share it with everybody.
Wow.
Yes. And they actually give it a lifetime warranty on the bearing. That's how confident they are on it.
So just to be clear, right, we should point out to people, the reason why Alex was chatting to a bearing expert is because we have a video about bearings. Right. So I can't wait for that video. I gave you a whole load of questions that I had, and you had your own questions as well, but I'm looking forward to it.
I think people will be amazed when I say this. I spoke to Matt from Enduro Bearings about just bearings for an hour and 15 minutes.
I'm not amazed by that. I would have expected it to be longer.
Yeah, well, there you go.
There you go.
So if you want to see some of those videos, subscribe to GCNTech, turn on your notifications, and then, well, you won't miss out then. Right, more hard tech next week. It's now time for comments of the week. It's the part of the show where we read out the comments that you've left from last week. Starting with the show. So we've got Stephen Morris, 6201, who says, in motorsport, from go-karts through to British touring to F1, the cars driven are specialist tools with a specific purpose and function. This is where the Colnago bike is and where it should be. And that's great. Why can't we just celebrate this? What is all this? It wouldn't be good for a weekend warrior and is therefore not that good. They just saying they thought for the last season.
I wouldn't have said that. Yeah.
No, I wouldn't have said that either. Basically, they also say the two of you work extremely well together and always entertaining and interesting. Can we fist bump that?
Yes.
Brilliant.
Thanks.
But they do raise an incredibly good point, right? That you don't have to look at something that's designed as a pure performance bike and go, well, that'd be no good for weekend riding. Because it's just not what it's for.
Yeah, I think the problem is a lot of people do feel that the difference is Formula One cars are not marketed to us for sale. Whereas I think the difference is with a lot of high-end performance bikes, which are arguably the equivalent of Formula One cars, because that's their intended purpose, like that Colnago, are seemingly marketed to the rest of us for sale. And I think that's where the criticism is.
Well, yeah, I'm with you on that. I just think
people get confused.
I think it's cool that there's the option to be able to purchase stuff that is raced at the Tour de France.
I agree. Yeah, it's cool. We just love bikes.
We just love bikes.
Anyway, right. Next up, we've got Skylar's R&D, who says, "Behind you, is that the Pinarello that Alex built up?"
Well, yes, it is.
And then built down.
Built up and built down.
Yeah.
And drilled some holes in the middle of it.
Yeah.
But whatever, we'll brush past that. Andrew says, there's actually so little difference between all of those top tier bikes. The question is mute. Of course he could, and Cav could have won his sprints on any bike, and so on. Don't buy into the manufacturing hype with this whole lighter, faster, more compliant, more aero, better handling BS. There's a lot of passion gone into that.
There is.
Comment, I think.
I do agree that I think any bike currently raced in the pro peloton, give that to Tadej Pogacar and he'll still win.
Well, I think it is true. There is very small difference between all of the top tiers bikes.
But I would stand by our assessment that if you put him on a lower tier bike that wasn't aero and had 105 on it, I don't think he would. He'd still be up there, but I don't think he'd beat his closest rivals.
I mean, the features of lighter, faster, more compliant, they are factual. They do make a difference.
Yeah.
But right. The other video we had out at the weekend, actually, was the aspect of bike design that I said lots of people have forgotten about and we're not talking about enough, and that is ride feel. I thought it was really interesting to discuss this. And I spoke to an engineer from Canyon all about how on earth you can design a bike to feel nice to ride, because there's no numbers to it, you can't quantify it, and everyone's idea of it's different. So Alan says, thought-provoking, suggesting that what we need to do is understand our own needs and desires as consumers, and they're saying what we don't realise is we quite often don't know what it is we actually want. Many people will default to what they see other people riding, and it's been a fascinating journey for them over the years, understanding what it is that they enjoy. Thanks for putting the video together.
Nice.
Yeah.
Biorama says, to confirm Alex's point, I restarted riding in 1998. I bought a Fausto Coppi aluminium carbon forked road bike and rode it to the point in 2013 that I realised I was being left behind by people that were of the same fitness level as me but were riding a newer generation of bikes. The world had turned to carbon fibre. Thereafter, I bought a used mechanical Pinarello Paris, and that changed everything. 6 years later, I bought an F8 electronic plus disc brakes, and that kept me going for 30 kilometres an hour. And keeps me riding to this day. Who knows where the story will lead next? Maybe an e-bike when nothing else will help.
Well, I think the reason they've come up with that comment was because what I was trying to get to the bottom of was the bike that I used when I was racing, say 5, 6, 7 years ago, compared to the bike I've got now, because I feel like I'm just as fast as I did back then. And basically what we kind of decided was the advancements in technology and improvements you get from the bike are almost at a similar rate to my decline in performance. So we're trying to almost keep a bit of a flat line.
Nice.
Yeah, which I thought was quite a good way of looking at it.
Ewing Taylor says, I've been riding since 1961, and all of this refinement in performance or feel is mind-numbing. Reliability of components, especially the bottom bracket and spindle, are what I value the most. A well-made metal frame and front forks that will last indefinitely. No carbon fibre cracking or shattering, and that what gives an old dinosaur like me riding satisfaction. I'm right there with you. I think though, we will see a consumer trend, not just in cycling, but wider. This is my big prediction for the future, that we'll see a return to more products that are built to last
traditional materials.
No, just washing machines that were made in the 60s that still work, things like that. I think, Gen Alpha, they're gonna want this stuff. The demand's gonna be there.
There you go.
People are going to be into it.
That all got deep and philosophical.
Yeah.
I like it. Right, keep leaving comments underneath our videos. We'll keep reading them out. It's now time for the Bike Vault. This is the part of the show where you upload pictures of your bikes. Click on the link in the description down below. Then Ollie and myself judge them to be nice or super nice. If they're super nice, I ring the bell.
Oh, yeah? Right. What have we got first? We have got...
Luke Lonesome.
With his, what is this? Oh, it's you'll like this.
Super nice.
US Postal Service. It's a Trek Madon.
Oh, I love it.
What do you make? It is a Madon, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's it's that era. Oh, it's actually a 55,200. So it's like the model that just kind of preceded before.
It's your A7700 as well. Wow. Look at that.
I think anyone that's watched the show has known that I've said this many times over.
Bikes,
I love these bikes.
Come on, that's a super nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you know what? It's not to my taste, but I know it is to yours. That clashing brown bar tape.
Do you know what I do? I love clashing brown on my bikes. There you go.
Yeah, I know you do.
Right.
Brian Wong next with a Time Alpe d'Huez.
Oh, this is nice. I like this.
Ultegra, 12-speed on there.
I wonder if he chose that because the cranks are stiffer.
Yes, I think he probably did.
Yeah.
That's very nice, isn't it? Also, he seems to live in the sort of part of Willy Wonka's chocolate factory where Mike TV goes and has that, where he can teleport chocolate through a TV.
It's a very clinically clean background, isn't it?
Yeah.
I hope that they've not just snuck in a brand new bike picture in the Bike Vault.
Yeah.
I also, just a quick side question to you. Wavy rim profiles, you feeling them or not really?
I don't know. I'm still trying to work out if Brian Wong has got his new bike off the Time website imagery.
Yeah, just wishful thinking. Right, Bob _some_Ale.
Are we not saying it's nice or super nice?
Oh, yeah, I forgot actually.
Go on then, let's super nice.
Super nice.
But there will be repercussions if we find that photo has been lifted. Bob Some Ale has a Trek Domane 2021.
Oh, with 2 wheel sets.
But that's cool because it's like an all-road bike, isn't it?
He names it a Do Everything Domane.
I like it.
It does look like he's been on 2 different bike rides though, because the back half is very dirty and the front's quite clean.
Yeah. Also, where is that? It's like a swamp where he's been. Yeah, what are you thinking here? It is in Biggie Smalls.
I'm actually leaning towards a nice here.
All right.
Would you agree or disagree?
It's a little bit jaunty.
Yeah.
Nice. Carlos Parada says Christmas has come early with his black and gold single-speed bike.
Rate this. It's like a sort of street fighter-y commuter bike, urban, everything. Gold hubs,
I'm into that.
Gold crank, gold chain, fist bump. Thank you.
Yeah. We go super nice on that.
Yeah, I want a super nice. I don't like the bar taping one. It's about super nice it already. Nigel L next with a Brompton G-line. It says thanks mostly to Size Video covering the released Brompton G-line. My wife and I recently acquired one each. But yeah, they bought 2. Big spender. Right.
You know what they should have also bought though?
I know what you're going to say. Go on.
Well, a leaf blower, some Ron Seal, and a lawnmower.
Just splashed out on 2 bikes.
Yeah, I know.
Should have bought 1 bike.
Priorities.
Could have got the garden sorted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. It's super nice though, isn't it?
Yeah, come on.
I love a
super nice
Brompton.
stuff.
They're blooming great.
I would like to get a Brompton. Lord Numpton next with a Neo retro build based on a 1988 Gazelle frame that was about to be binned at Castle Combe.
Oh, nice. Near to us.
Near to us.
Yeah.
Is this... Oh, it's got some of the silver 105 11-speed group set, which I think is really cool. It's an underrated group set, actually.
You know what, though? It needs like a silver cage, doesn't it? The cage is like... But I think that's because he's put a longer cage on it.
No, I've got the same. The cage is black, even on the silver ones.
Oh.
It's upsetting, isn't it?
It's not his fault, but I think, like, they need to do that. They need to sort that out, don't they?
Yeah. I
You
mean,
could probably take the paint off it, polish it up, because it's aluminium, the old cage on those, I think.
I'll probably just spend 2 days doing it by
they're
hand.
steel. I think they're steel, the old aluminium. I think they're steel.
I have no idea.
Pressed steel. Anyway, yeah.
Can we? I would like
Super nice.
that.
That's a super nice.
And especially because the bar tape and saddle is pretty close to matching.
And it's brown.
Even
my
though
favourite colour.
Even though you're colourblind, you say
It's
you can't
the way
tell.
it's like brown tape, and then it clashes with the black hood on the shifter. I'm not into it, but I know you are.
As someone that is colourblind, you say you wouldn't be able to tell that, surely.
I'm colourblind apart from all
Browns.
colours apart from brown.
Yeah, convenient. Right, super nice?
Yeah.
You're getting out of that one.
Yeah.
Right, that's it. That's the last bike in this week's Bike Vault. Hope everyone enjoyed the show. I actually did enjoy it. I don't know what I'm saying.
I actually enjoy it. I normally hate it. Actually, I quite enjoy it.
I'm still chuckling.
Amazing. Right.
I'm laughing at you being colourblind.
Let's go. Right. Love you. Bye.
Right, Rabbit, bye. I was dying inside that you just say you're colourblind.
I am colourblind.
You're not.
I am colourblind.
You're not.
I am colourblind.
You're not colourblind.
Oh, right.
Sorry. Oh, God.